now interviewing Miss Lucille Williams at her home on East Highland Avenue in connection with the Negro History Study. Ms. Williams is a longtime resident of Muncie and has been long active in Negro women organizations here. Testing? Yeah, that's good. Okay. Now, Miss Williams, when did you first come to Muncie?
1904.
1904.
Yes.
Do you remember where you came from?
We came from Peru, Indiana, to Muncie. I was born in Ghent, Kentucky. And a group of men came down to Ghent trying to find men who would work in the steel mills at Peru, Indiana. And Mr. Edward Duvall and my father decided to go to Peru and see if they could find jobs there. And they went and they found jobs in the steel mill. And then they, of course, wrote back and told the rest of them, and a number of others come. Mr. Duvall's brother, Louis Duvall, and several, just a number of others, went on to Peru and worked, I think, about 2 years, something like that, in the steel mills, but the steel mills went down, closed. Then Mr. Duvall and my father started out again, trying to find work. And they came to Muncie. And they found jobs at the Muncie Mountain and worked there for a while. And my father finally went on to Ball Brothers and finished his working days there at Ball Brothers. But after they did come to Muncie, then a number of the rest of them followed. And those who followed, many of them were from different parts of the country. They were not all from Ghent. A number of them were from the South because at that time, you know, they traveled all over the country finding men to work in the steel mills. And a number of them, the Blackburns were one family and that had come up from a different part of the South. There were just a number. And then, of course, a number of people from Ghent and from the Parrots and Mr. Dixie Brown and his family, and all followed on to Muncie.
Did you go to school here in Muncie?
Yes. Went to Longfellow School. The last year that they held Longfellow School in the building where Schaefer Chapel is now.
There at Highland and Wolf.
Yes.
That was the school.
Yes, well, the last year that they held school there, I attended that last year and then went on into the new building and finished Longfellow School. And then they were building the new high school, and we had to go out to Muncie Normal Institute and had to walk out there every morning.
To go to school?
Yes, to go to high school.
Yeah, in other words, that's Ball State University now. That's where y'all went to high school.
Yes, it is Ball State now. We had to go there to go to high school because they were building this new high school and there was not room for us in the quarters that they were using at that time. So every morning, get up and go down under the bridge and go on out.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
And then my mother, who had been a school teacher herself, she felt that there were some things that I was missing that I really needed to know to help me have a different view of life as a Negro child. So she decided that the best thing for me to do was to go down to Louisville, Kentucky, and go to a school there. They had a school that was called Simmons University. It was a Baptist school. And she felt that there were things that I would learn that I would not be able to really absorb in the school system here, because she had watched very closely. Now we're very interested in Negro history. Well, at that time she was too, and she realized that I was not getting any of that. So she felt that I should go there where I could have a feeling that there was no one in the school who could have better advantages, who could take a part in any activity or anything that I could not. And of course we realized at that time in these mixed schools there were activities that you just weren't invited to take part in. And she realized that I was really missing something. So the last 2 years that I was in high school, she sent me there. And I think I will never give anything in the world for those 2 years in that school, because it has always made me feel that regardless of who it is or what, that there was no one who was any different to me, that I could take advantage of anything that or any doors that might be open.
Yeah, that's probably an important thing.
It was the most important thing. Many times I have said, had I been fortunate enough to have had a large family, I would have always had them spend some other time in a school where they could feel that they could take a part, that they were just as important as anyone else in the school. That's the main thing. And I've always had that feeling through life that I could take advantage of anything, or any doors that were open. If I failed, it was my fault.
Yeah, that's a good thing to have, probably something a lot of our kids miss. Do you recall where your parents lived when they first came to Muncie?
Yes, I surely do, because the house is still standing. It's back of the filling station there on the corner of right back to the filling station. Right off of Broadway, right back at the filling station there. You know, there's a little house.
On Lowell Street there?
Yes, on the corner of Lowell and Penn. That was the first place we lived in Lowell.
Well, do you remember, were there a lot of families here in this area, Negro families at that time?
No, there were more. It was a mixed area then. And there were not as many Negro families in this area as there were white families. But we all had the same feeling, and I think toward one another. We did not realize that there was any segregation or any feeling at all. We all enjoyed one another. And many of the young people among the people who lived in this area have gone on and have helped Muncie out a lot. One of the assistant postmasters lived in this area, and we were all very, very good friends and did not realize any difference at all. One of them had a factory of his own, and many of the people who lived in this area have moved out to other sections of Muncie and have made good.
That's white families you're speaking of. That moved out of those families, or were
there were white families who have moved in other areas and have made good, but we kept our relationship. I don't think there's ever any feeling.
In other words, there were white business people prominent people in Whiteley.
No, they were white children who have become prominent
people
in Muncie.
That grew up in Whiteley.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall, any other Negro families that lived anywhere besides Whiteley and Industry, at that time? Were there any in other parts of the city?
Well, from time to time, they have lived all over Muncie. You see,
you remember any specifics? I mean, any families and, some idea where they did live?
Yes, I was going to say on Madison Street, right across from Garfield School, because we used to often have parties and things, and we'd have to walk from Whiteley to Madison Street, right across from Garfield School. There were families that lived there. There were families who lived out in Avondale. What is Avondale now?
You recall any family names?
Yes, the Lambs, Mr. and Ms. Lamb. Mr. and Ms. Lamb lived out in Avondale. And then the Johnsons, they owned a little farm on the other side of Kitzelman's, just not too far from the Kitzelman estate.
Johnsons, what Johnsons? If you don't,
I was trying to think of Mr. Johnson's first name, but anyway, his daughter had a son that became very important. The Edwards boy that was in movies was her son. And then the other son lives here, the Edwards boy.
Yeah.
But that Johnson family lived, and then there was a family by the name of Horns that lived out in that area, too. There was no, any place, if you had the money to buy, you could buy and live. And of course the Finleys, they lived out in, on the other side of Wire Mill. What was that called? Well, Clem Finley and them, they lived on the other side of the Wire Mill.
That's Clem, Miss House? Is that the one? Are their parents? Or is that the ones that live on Broadway now? Their parents?
Yes. And Clem and his parents. His brothers, his sister, he had a sister, and they had a brother, and so on. And they all lived on the other side of the Wire Mill. I can't even think of what it's called.
Well, I'll try and
But any place that you had the money to buy land, at that time you could buy. Of course, money was a scarce thing.
Right. Well, do you have, it's probably hard for you to pin it down. Do you have any idea when that changed, when it started to change?
When the clans came into Muncie. Then you could feel the change. Before that time, you did not have a feeling of segregation. But when the Ku Klux Klan came into Muncie, and I do not criticize young people now for some of the things that they do. When I think back over the things that we did when we were young, the Ku Klux Klan had a large meeting down in the park, and they took up both sections, both the north and south section of McCullough Park. They just covered that entire area. And we were foolish enough to say that we were not afraid of them. And the night that they had their big meeting, we got in a car. We rode down through the north part of the park to show them that we were not afraid of them. And of course, we did not realize, our parents didn't know what we were doing. And we did not realize the danger that we were in. But we just simply did it to show them that we were not afraid of them. The whole car. And we went down through and went on through the North Park, came on out Centennial Pike, and came on home. They jumped on the side of each side of the car and rode until we got to Centennial Pike and came on out. And of course that could have been a very dangerous thing.
Right. You recall any other, specific things about the Klan, in that era, since you're talking about them? Any other rallies that they had, or any unusual things that happened?
Well, of course, that's the most outstanding thing. But you could feel the difference in the community. after the organization of the Ku Klux Klan, you could feel the difference in the community. They were entirely different.
Well, what was social life like for, young Negroes at that time? And what did they do, and where did they go? And,
Well, before that, we could go almost any place that we wanted to go. But after the Klan come, then they began to close doors to us, so to speak.
I mean, you went to dances and things like that?
No, we have always, the first place, we were raised as Christian children, and we were not allowed to go to dances.
Mostly it was church.
Yes.
Activities.
Yes. And of course we had our separate churches, Calvary and Bethel, were the two churches that were here when we came to Muncie. Then after Mr. Duvall came, he started a little class right across the Longfellow School here. There was a tall building there. There at the corner of Penn and Highland. Well, he started a little group in that building because he felt it was so far for the children to have to always go to Calvary or to Bethel, to Sunday school and to church. So he started a little Sunday school class there. And it finally then ended up in Antioch Church. And then they had to split from Antioch to Union Church. And of course it was a number of years afterwards before Church Chapel was even organized.
You have any idea, about what time that was when Antioch, Mr. Duvall started that group? I mean, just in general, some general area there.
Wait a minute. Let me see. I have this history. I don't know. See, Edna Liggins was here this summer,
Yes, ma'am.
And she gave a little bit of the history. I don't know whether she gave the year.
Yeah, we've been trying to get the history of the church. We got Schaefer and I think Bethel.
Yes, Bethel and Calvary. But
much luck with some of the others.
I'll see whether Anna gave the date or not. Mr. Duvall also started, a little jitney bus running through Whiteley. He started a little jitney bus where you could go to town for a nickel.
Yeah?
Yes. He did quite a lot of things. But,
well, while you're looking for that, we can go ahead and, were there any Negro doctors or anyone, here when
Dr. Smith.
Back in those times?
No.
In the earlier years
I'm trying to
that
think of. I'm trying to think of, there was a Negro doctor here. I'm trying to remember whether he was here before Dr. Smith or after Dr. Smith. But we did have another Negro doctor who had an office here on Highland Avenue. Roy, can you remember his name? There was a doctor who had an office on Highland Avenue, but I can't remember whether it was before Dr. Smith or whether it was after.
What about any lawyers or any?
Yes. Yes, we had a lawyer. We had a lawyer, and he had an office on Elm Street.
Don't remember his name.
On Elm Street, just before you get to Main Street. He came here. His home was in Washington, D.C. I will never forget him. He was here, in the 1920s. He was here. Because I will never, perhaps 1919, but 1920, I know around 1920, he was here. He had this office on Elm Street.
You don't recall his name?
And,
Well, what about Negroes holding elective office or any government? Were there any? Who are the first ones you remember? Or do you recall? You know, who the first ones might have been? I'm asking a lot of questions. You know,
yes.
but I mean, just relax.
And sometimes it you have to take a little time to think about those things, because I can't. You might make a mistake.
Well, we can always double check it. See, what I do if I talk to you and you know, give me some lead, then if I talk to someone else, I might ask them, do they happen to remember that, you know, and try to kind of jog.
I had a little time to thought, because I'll never forget this attorney who was here. I can see his face.
Was his name Brawley?
Yes.
Brawley?
Brawley. Yes, Attorney Brawley. He was here and had this office on Elm Street. And I remember him telling me about the conditions in Washington, D.C. among Negroes. He warned me, I thought a little bit about that I might go to Washington, D.C. And he warned me that whatever group you started with, if you started with a professional group, that you stayed in that group, whatever. And, you couldn't start just as a common laboring person and then jump over into a professional group or something. Whatever group you started in, you more or less stayed, at that time, you more or less stayed in that group. And that's one thing that but we were very good friends. And
did you ever happen to hear your parents say anything about who, you know, some of the first Negroes were that ever came to Muncie? Have you ever heard that discussed, you know, who the first
Negroes in Muncie?
Yes.
I can't think of I can't remember now who might have said that first Negroes were. I know there were quite a few here. When we came, Mrs. Young was here, and Mrs. Young was the grandmother of our councilman,
Dan Kelly?
Dan Kelly. Daniel Kelly. She was his grandmother, and I know she was here, and she had that's who my father and Mr. DeVos did. But she more or less kept had a rooming house. She kept people.
Her name Mrs. Young.
Yes.
See, we try to run these names down in courthouse records or something if we can get some clues as to who.
Think of Mrs. Young's first name. Now, she had Dan's mother was named Anna. She had I remember that, but right now I can't think of Mrs. Young's first name.
Well, I mean, that's all right. Don't worry about it.
There were several. There were a number of families here when we were home.
You know, I don't want to jump back and forth too much, but we were talking about the Klan, and when I was talking to Mr. Turner and Miss Elsie, they were talking about the Klan having Mr. Veeney for 3 or 4 days or something. Do you remember anything about that?
Yeah, I remember something about that they did have him. Now, the particulars I have really forgotten. But I do know that they definitely made a change in the attitude here in Muncie.
Well, I'll talk to you about something else you may remember a little more about, and that's Reverend Johnson. You remember him, the mortician?
Yes, yes, he was.
And he, as I understand, he had the 2 boys that were lynched in
Marion.
Yes.
And were brought here.
Any details about that?
Yes, they were brought here for him to take care of their bodies because they couldn't do it in Marion. And they were brought here, and of course everyone was a little bit nervous for fear that it would start some trouble here, but it didn't. Started serious trouble here. And now some of our outstanding attorneys and all here were members of the Ku Klux Klan, but they found that it was a mistake, and they came out of the Ku Klux Klan.
Do you remember anything else about Reverend Johnson, about his embalming process, anything? I've heard a lot of talk about it, you know, about him being able to preserve bodies for a long length of time.
He was able to preserve bodies. I remember one young man, he preserved the body for a long time. I would be afraid to say just how long, but he was able to preserve that body. And of course, Richard Taylor took his training under Reverend Johnson. He came here and worked with Reverend Johnson. And Reverend Johnson was able to preserve that young man's body for quite a long time. I remember even when...
Do you know whether there was anything in the paper about it long back then, about him preserving that long? I mean, would there be any way we could... Well, they said, let me see, who did they say was with that boy? They said that seemed like it was Ellsworth Williams, and they said you might be able to remember his name, the boy's name. It was in an automobile wreck.
I might have it someplace, because I'm the kind of person that I keep clippings. And had I known you were coming, I would have gotten some of those old clippings out.
Well, we can look at some, and then I'd be glad to come back.
Yes, but because I'm just that type of person that I often keep clippings. I came, the other day I came across, you know, the YW was not integrated for a long time.
I know, years ago.
And when we worked with the young women in the YW, I remember we had to have separate camps, and we had a camp up near Eaton, and not long ago, I expect just about a couple of weeks ago, I came across a book that had the menus that we had. We went to Eaton and had a camp up there. They used to have, skating rink and so on at Eaton. And they did away with that. Well, after that, it made a nice camping site. And we went there and took our girls to there for camp. And of course, they first built this separate building down on Seymour Street, you know, for the YW girls.
No, I didn't know.
Yes, down on Seymour Street, they bought a building on Seymour Street for Negro girls, and that was when Adelaide Turner came as director of that. And then they moved from Seymour Street up to First Street, and of course they even stayed there for a while after they were integrated. Well, Nellie Donegan was still there for a while, and then Muncie and Nursery moved in.
No, I wouldn't know. I knew when you know, they were there on First and.
No, before that they had a building on Seymour. They were first, and I found that not long ago. I found an article about this building on Seymour Street. That was the first.
You've been active with the Federated Clubs and all, haven't you? Can you give me some history, you know, how that started?
Yes, well, our parents first, of course, had Federated Clubs here. My mother belonged to one of the Federated Clubs, and they, in turn, organized a junior Federated Club when I was 12 years old to join the Junior Federated Club. And then after we were old enough, then we went into the Federation ourselves, and we changed our name. We were called the Young Progress Club. the club that my mother belonged to was called the Progress Club, and we were called the Young Progress Club. Then, when we were able to go into the Federation, we changed our name to the Halleck Brown Club. And that club was in existence for many years. But after we were married and all, it began to fall away, you know, how the membership does. And there were many things, because at that time, the Federation, they too did not believe in public dances and all of these things that children believe in now.
What was its purpose? I mean, what was it organized for?
Well, their motto was the same as it is now, lifting as we climb. Their purpose was in trying to help young people to climb up the ladder of success. And that has always been their object.
Do they have any history, you know, of who the first people were that organized their group or anything?
Yes, like that? The thing about, well, of course I forget that. The thing about that, I had the book with all of that in it, and I loaned it to Stella Smith. She didn't return it. It was really a wonderful book on black history, because it had everything in it for years and centuries back, and she borrowed it, and I haven't forced her to bring it back, but it's a thing that really needs to be in the library out of Fall State, because it was authentic history. You know, some of this history that they're putting out now is not always, but my mother was the kind that always bought books. She bought books and bought books. And this had the history of the Federation and how it started. You see, in the very beginning, the Federation was an integrated affair. And one of the women in the East, I can't think of her name, because one of the clubs in Indiana is named for her. One of the clubs in South Bend is named for her. Why on earth would I make that? I don't know, Bert. Before that time, all people went to the same meetings, Federated Club meetings. It was an entirely integrated affair. But this Mrs. St. Pierre Ruffin, she went to a meeting, and they tried to segregate her. And she became disturbed about this. They did not want to accept her club. She was from Boston, I think she was from the East. I think she was from Boston. And they did not want to accept her club at this particular meeting. So she came back, and then they began to organize clubs of their own. And they had two sections of clubs, but they finally decided to come into one and have the association of Federated Clubs. And from there, it went on. And the thing that we are very, very happy about, they did so very many things during the years it was coming along, but the thing that we're very happy about now is that on February 14th, you see, they will be dedicating the Frederick Douglass home. Well, Frederick Douglass bought this home out from Washington, and it's a most beautiful home. I'm very, very thankful that I was able to see it in its natural state. It's up on a high hill, and you can look from this home, and you can see the Lincoln Monument in Washington. And we made a visit to it when I served as the state president. We had a meeting there, and so we went out to see this home. And it was a most beautiful home on a high hill. And there was a lot of land. Some of the land they had let someone else have it and built, and they were building apartments and so on and so forth on this land. But this particular part they had kept where his home was. And when we made a visit to the home, it was in its natural state. It had the beds that they used, and even the bedclothes and the spreads and everything that Frederick Douglass and his wife. But she was, after he died, she was about to lose the home. And so the Association of Colored Women bought the home. And in this home, they had a plaque made with the names of all of the clubs who made a donation toward saving this home. And in this, there are several Muncie clubs that we were able to see. He had a restaurant on Walnut Street between Charles and Adams and Charles.
What was his name?
His name was James. His name was Johnson. I don't know. I think it was James Johnson. I have it in the Bible.
Oh, good. Yeah, I've heard there were several businesses down there.
Yes.
Do you recall any of the other businesses?
Yes. There were two men by the name of Mr. Downs and Mr. Strauss. I won't forget them because we weren't supposed to go there, but we did. You know, it's a popular place. Yes, his father's name was James Ferguson.
James Ferguson. Mm-hmm. And so he owned a restaurant.
And he owned a restaurant for many years there on Walnut Street between Charles and Adams for many years. They said he...
What was the name of the restaurant? Do you remember?
No, because he died the year before we came to Muncie. So I was not acquainted with him.
You remember Mr. Kelly having a hotel on
Yes,
Mr.
Street? Yes. I'll never forget that because, you see, we went there all the time. Mr. Kelly had a hotel on Walnut Street, and we were there all the time because Dan had a sister, had a younger sister, and she and I were very good friends. And then he had an older sister beside Beulah and all, and we were at their restaurant all the time.
There was a restaurant in the hotel.
Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think of what the business is that. Here, but this Mr. Downs and Mr. Strauss, their business was upstairs in the corner of Walnut and Howard.
What did they do?
Well, they had a restaurant and
Did most of them? Did they cater mostly to Negroes?
No.
Anybody?
No, anyone.
Anybody?
No, they catered to anyone. No, and James's great grandfather, of course, I guess he catered more because there were more white people here then than there were colored.
Yeah.
And he had that restaurant for years there. His name was James Ferguson.
Mm-hmm. Well, who else was considered, some of the outstanding Negro families here, back in those days? Are there any that stand out in your mind?
The Bensons.
Bensons.
Yes.
What did they do?
Mr. Benson had
a barbershop down there, didn't he?
Yes, he had a barbershop and kind of restaurant like that. that's where we always went on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, that's right.
That was in McCullough Park.
At McCullough Park there.
Right.
And of course Patterson's, when they first come to Muncie, they opened up their edge of McCullough Park too. They opened their business when they first. But Mr. Benson had been there for years, and that was one place that we couldn't ever miss on Sunday afternoon. Was going to his place. So there was not, at that time, you really didn't feel the segregation as you have felt it since at all. Anyone wanted to go to swim had a good time, that was all. And you really didn't feel that. You didn't have the feeling of segregation. But I was going to start to tell you about Frederick Douglass' home. The club women raised money and purchased the home, and then they kept it so that you could visit it, and kept it in its natural state. Even the kitchen stove, all the utensils and everything that they used, they kept those right. And then in one bedroom upstairs, I was telling someone the other day, they had a bed that I'd never even seen a picture of a bed like that bed. And it really worries me inside. I wonder what's ever going to become of it. Whether they would keep that bed or whether someone else would take it. That's the thing I'm wondering.
I'm sure they'll preserve it now.
I hope.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
I would give anything if I could go to the opening on February the 14th this year. Oh, I just give anything if I could go. But it is possible.
People, they should really appreciate people like, that had enough foresight to save it,
Yes, well, it was a wonderful thing to see the home in its natural state. And now the government has spent a lot of money on it, and they have. And then they had a picture in the home of Lincoln, and they took the picture out of his home and held it, and they gave it to the White House, and it's hanging in the Lincoln room at the White House. Albert Frederick Douglass. The club women gave the picture to them. So you see, people have been working all along, laying the groundwork for the young people of today, and each generation lays the groundwork for the next generation.
Yeah, but somebody has to tell the story,
Yes.
Nobody tells kids. How do they know? I've been really surprised, to find that, Negroes own businesses all along Walnut Street and, different places that they have lived in Muncie and the different kind of occupations they've had. And I think, our kids need to know these things. So
Yes, young people should, because that groundwork has what was, but as I said, it seemed like it's something just, when the Klans came along, it dampened the spirit of people. I don't know. It stopped the progress. That's what I think. It really, And Muncie has never been the same, and I feel that it's different even yet to a number of cities here, even in Indiana. There's something that's it's just not the same.
There's still kind of residue left. Yeah.
Because this was their headquarters. And it had a bad effect on Muncie. And of course we did not have colored teachers in the school. And I'm not saying this boastingly, but when I come back from Louisville and all, I went out to Ball State and started going to school out to Ball State. I think perhaps the first year it was made into Ball State, 1919. The superintendent of school, I can't think of his name, but the superintendent of school and one other man, one Saturday, I know that they took me, I mean, it wasn't Saturday, one Friday, they took me to visit some of the schools in Marion. I didn't know why, because then you could go a short time and get a teacher's license, you know. I didn't know why they were asking me to go with them. I had no idea. Because at that age and stage, you know, you kind of think that love is the greatest thing in the world. You don't realize. But I had that in my mind at that time, and yet I was wanting to go to school. But I really wasn't satisfied within my own mind. And had they told me at that time that they had it in their mind to start having a teacher in Longfellow School, I'm sure that I would not have married. But they told other people, told Blanche Phillips. She's one person that they told afterwards that that's what they had in mind. Well, had they told me, I wouldn't have married because I would have been glad to have had a job. And that's the thing, but they didn't tell me at that time. I didn't know why, but they asked me to go with them to visit some other schools. And you see, it was many, many, many years before they integrated the teaching.
But at that time, they kind of frowned on married women teaching. Is that what it was?
Well, I think that they wanted me to see the school system in Marion, and we spent the day in the school system in Marion, and I had no idea that they had in mind anything like that. It just didn't even cross my mind. And I guess they didn't even think about me having marriage in my mind and not continuing in school. So it was just one of those things that happened. And it went on, see, all these years until what was the first girl who was teacher?
Miss Geraldine?
Yes. And all of those years passed in between when perhaps it might have been different. But you never know those things. I'm not saying it, but it's just one of those things that happen.
What about any Negro newspapers or any news media? Do you remember any?
Well,
Just
I'm trying to think. It seems to me, but what? Well, come in here. I can't hear you. Turn the TV on.
I'll get
Turn the TV on.
I can't think his name. He worked down at a park around. I can't think of his name, sitting on that side.
But I was seeing blacksmith. Alice Finley's father was blacksmith here for years.
Wow.
He was blacksmith before we even come to Muncie. And he drowned the spring that we came to Muncie. They had a flood down here, and he drowned. But he had had a blacksmith shop for years here in Muncie. Before that.
What year was that? 19? When?
Before 1904.
When he. But that's when you came here, about 1904. That's
yes,
when he drowned.
That's when yes, and he drowned that same spring.
Yes, that's when the flood would have been.
They had a flood. Of course, they've had floods since.
Yeah.
But they had a flood that year, and he was drowned, and he had a blacksmith shop downtown for years before that. Yes, and it seems like to me that there was a newspaper, and I can't
Do you recall any unusual trials, you know, anything like that that Negroes were involved in, you know, in the early time?
I wish Roy could, I wish his mind, wish he could think well now, because he's the one that always went to trial and everything. I never was too interested in, but Roy, any time there was a trial or anything, he was there.
I have found the one to trial from I'd be right there.
Yeah, well. I was trying to find that about about this down here, what year this Antioch was.
Yeah.
Do you
Antioch was.
do you have any, you know, any suggestions, you know, of anyone else you know I might talk to that might help us?
Well, now Alice Finley might, because see, they lived here before we did. Alice Finley and the Cotmans were here. Hazel and Jesse Finley and Hazel Taylor, they were here when we. And they both have, we were together last Thursday and talked about old times. But they were very, here it tells about Orville Harrell. He was a great singer at the Metropolitan Opera. And now, his father, let's see, trying to think. But anyway, he left Muncie and made good.
Was he Negro?
I was trying to think. I was trying to think whether it was Robert Harrell, but his name was Harrell. He was you remember Miss Boone, Mrs. Boone, that used, she was Miss Harrell, used to live here. Her name was Boone. I don't know whether, no, I expect Bernice Boone was gone before. But Mrs. Harrell had been married. Before she married Mr. Boone, she'd married a man by the name of Harrell. And he was a great singer, and he left here. And I have a letter someplace from him, because his mother was the first state president, Indiana, of our Indiana Federation of Colored Women's Club. And a few years ago, we put a marker at her grave. Country singing. And now this is a picture. We had an executive board meeting in Washington, D.C., and we went to the grave of
Medgrave.
We visited President Kennedy's grave same day.
And this one is this is a Beech Grove here?
Yes, it's out here at Beech Grove.
L. Harrell, 1866, 1944.
It's
First
not
president of Indian Federation Colored Women's Club. And she was a Muncie woman.
Yes, yes. She was a Muncie woman. And she was the first president of our Indiana State Federation of Clubs. And all these years they had gone and did not have a marker at her grave. And after I became state president, I called their attention to the fact that there was not a marker at her grave. So they put the marker there, and they came that day. All these people from different places. And they came that day and put the marker at her grave, and her grave is right near James's great-grandfather's grave, the Fergusons. It's up in the old part, and it's, the graves are not far apart. If you ever go up in the old part of the cemetery and see a marker that's, like they used to have them tall, with a dove, and has a dove on it. Well, that's the Ferguson. They own that entire plot there. And that's where, and James, my mother and father are buried right there, and James, I have a marker for him there. He will be buried.
That's right. What's this other stuff? That's some other stuff you brought down?
Well, that's what I'm looking to see what, there was anything in that. Oh, I have a box upstairs. And I just said,
looking for.
I said the other day that, I felt bad that night, and I thought, well, now there's some things, you see, when they started the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis here, why, they asked me to serve and to work with them. And in their very first organization, I served as secretary of the first, Dr. Farrell was, I think he was chairman at that time. And the Planned Parenthood Board, when it was organized here, well, then I started working with them, and this year it'll be 6 years ago, and this year was my last year to work with them, and I had such a nice note from Mrs. Battle just a few days ago. And I thought, well, you try to work with the organizations, you try to work with people to make this a better community in which we, that younger people can build on and go on. Because now you see, with the Planned Parenthood, of course, they're doing a fine job. Bernice and different ones are getting into it and going on. Of course, with the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis, the work is not like it was in the beginning. We really had to work in the beginning because, let's say, I thought maybe there might be something in here. I want to show people.
I'm glad somebody kept some things because it's awful difficult to find. You know, Miss Phillips had quite a few
I have a box upstairs. But the strange, I wished I could find that book that I had about the YWCA. Well, because I just had it just a few weeks ago. About that, I didn't know what this was. That's animated ball.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what these are. I think these are more or less. I didn't know what was in here, but I think these are more or less things. Well, I'll look upstairs. I have another box there. The thing that happened a few weeks ago. Roy is not so well, and what's that?
Oh yeah, I remember her well. James and I were real good friends. Her boy, we grew up together. Yeah.
A few weeks ago, I had to move Roy downstairs, and when I moved him downstairs, then I moved a lot of my things around. I had them in one place upstairs, and I moved a lot of things my things around. I started the other day trying to find something. And I don't know where I've moved those things. I don't know what I've done with those. I've moved them out. I mean, I'll come across them again. But I had them all over there in the corner together. And when I moved his bed and everything around, why, I had a whole box of things that I had kept. And and you know, we had a Whiteley organization here years before they had sewers or anything out here. You know, we had Whiteley Council. Did you know about that? Well, now that you must have. Tony took it and made a copy off of it, off of it, because of the article that was in the paper, about one of the articles in the paper. No, they met here, Dr. Farrell, Dr. G, and just a number, the woman that was at the hospital for so long, but she's finally died.
Nellie Brown?
Miss Nellie Brown, and all of them. We met from house to house, and they wanted to know what we needed to have done in Whiteley. So they met here, and then we decided to form committees, and they had a large organization out here then, and decided then to meet from church to church. And when we'd have the Whiteley meeting at the churches would just be filled with people. And we didn't have sewers at all. And so then we formed this committee and went from house to house and had them to sign for sewers. And they brought the sewers, they had to bring the sewers across so that Carver Drive, that's why Carver Drive had sewers, because they had to bring the sewers from that direction through that area into Whiteley, because it would cost too much to come from Keener. And then we had this meeting, and they told us, they said, now, if you will have the housing project, the government will bring the sewer system from Keener to the housing project, and then they can build this Longfellow School. Well, we met with this with this group and decided to ask for the housing project. We had already asked for the sewers, and had got the sewers and everything for this portion of Whiteley. So then we asked for the housing project, and thought everything was just going fine. Well, the National Foundation, they were having a meeting down Tuskegee, and so they sent me as a delegate down there, and went down there and had such a wonderful meeting there. And on Monday night they were supposed to meet with the city council and make final plans for the housing project over here, because they had voted that they wanted it. And I rushed back, because I really wanted to stay another day, but I rushed back to be here Monday night to this meeting. And do you know, while I was gone, I just showed you how our people do, and things that you might come up against, trying to do the work. They got together and decided they didn't want this housing project. And they didn't want the housing project out here. And I didn't know anything about it. Went to the meeting, because I don't think I got home until Monday morning. I didn't know they had that a part of them had got off to themselves and had this meeting. Went to the meeting that night. Now you can imagine how I felt. Went to the meeting that night and presented it to the city council that we wanted the housing project out here and everything. And here this bunch, well, I don't mind telling the names, because we all finally ended up being friends again. But Tom Phillips and the Skateses and Delamay and all of them had got together and decided they didn't want the housing project. And got up in that meeting and told them they didn't want the housing project. Well, we met with the school board first, and they had explained that we couldn't said it'd be 10 years before that school would be built if we didn't get the housing project, because the city couldn't afford to get the sewer system in there. And so that's why we were working so hard to get the housing project, so they could get the school, because they needed the school. And you see what, then we had terrible time. After this group got together and decided they didn't want it, then we had a terrible time. We had to Dr. Smith was one that stood behind. I'll give him credit for it. He stood and they even called up here and said, if you don't get out of that thing, we'll burn your house down. So I said, well, if you burn the house down, I have insurance, so we'll just buy another place. Yeah. So that shows you what you may have to
You're right, yeah.
go through with.
Okay. That's the Entrepreneurs Club?
Yes.
Organized when now?
February 19th and 20th. And it was organized because at that time we were not supposed to attend public dances and things, and they wanted to have private affairs. And so the club was organized more or less for a social club. But it finally worked into being a club that helped through the years. It helped for a while. It helped give money to help young people to, we shared our money means to help young people when they were in need of funds. One young man has had a very successful career. That was really Ruth Jackson's boy. We helped him way back there. And of course, you know, he really has had a very successful career because they had a family. And
is that a history of the Entrepreneurs Club?
Yes, this is history of
why don't you just read it and then
history of
why don't you just read it and then
oh, wait a minute, I think I have a better history here.
Okay, just read it and then I can get it on tape and they can type it off. So. Okay.
All right, it says, here it is February 1920. Many of the young women had belonged to the Achievement Club. That was a club that Calvary Church sponsored. And the Halleck Brown Club, and that was a club that the Federation sponsored. But they were rather tame now, since we were grown women, and some of us even married. We were looking for a better time. So when our husbands and boyfriends had decided a month before to organize themselves into the Epicurean Club, now the Bachelor Benedict Club, we decided to plan our night out and form a club. We gathered at the home of Mrs. O.C. Smith at 812 East 1st Street, and we still can close our eyes and see the beautiful large punch bowl and table laden with good things that caught our eyes as we entered her home. Here the Entrepreneur Club was born. I had belonged to a club by this name in another city. So when it was mentioned, the girls felt that between ourselves, that was the meaning of entrepreneur. It would be a good name for our club. So at that time, public dances were given very often, and many times there were unpleasant scenes. So we decided to give our own private dances. And anyone who attended a public dance, their name was dropped from the roll. The names of the guests were screened, and so you know there were some battles. There were many good times and exciting times, such as collecting money for a dance and hearing a fire engine pass and everyone leaving the money to find the fire. And then when we had a dance where the wives passed through an arch and one wife could not find her husband on the other side. Also, then the theme was playmate. After we began to lose interest in these things, one of our members, Miss Marie Bethay, suggested bridge, and we have been struggling with that ever since. All of our time has not been given to pleasure. From time to time, we had persons come to give lectures. One such lecture came from a nurse who advised us on how to accept our husbands when they reach the foolish 40s, and I am sure this helps some of us over the hump. Along the way, we shared our means with young people who were in need of funds. One young man had a very successful career. During the Depression days, when we were all in need, we shared with others. Then in 1945 came our greatest undertaking, the sponsoring of the Muncie Day Nursery. We had left our girlhood far behind and belonged to the club for 25 years, and began to think of settling down when this challenge came. It gave us a shot in the arm and sent us into our greatest work. Today, only 6 other nurses in the state of Indiana are licensed to care for more children than we do. It has meant hard work and a lot of time, but many, many children have been made happy, and we have received a greater blessing because we have helped a child. We have continued to donate to the community chest. Red Cross, the polio drive. The first drive for the hospital, we gave $150. The roll has been called for many of our members. Among those are our first president, Ms. Hazel Adams Peel, Jane Gray, Leora Boatwright, Martha Ross, Lillian Rickman, Florence and Pauline Perkins. But God has been good to us. For the last active member who was taken was Marie Bethay in September 1938. Nettie Riff was not active at the time of her death. Other members who have belonged are Osa Smith, Alice Valentine Baker, Belle Haywood, Bernice Boone, Alice Alexander, Mrs. Benson, Lola Levi, Bessie Vaughn, Hazel Taylor, Nadine Blakemore, Mary Ferguson, Mattie Frierson, Edna Harden, Viola Smith, Maggie Shaw, Maud C., Ora Green Evans, Corrine Law, Stella Burton, Mildred Curtis Greer, and Lucille Patterson. Here it is 1957, and 37 years have passed. Gone is our girlhood. Gone our young womanhood, and we're peeping over the horizon toward the golden age, which we feel is some distance away, but it's still not as long as it has been. Of our present membership, there are 4 charter members: Alice Wingfield Finley, Jessie Cotman Finley, Mabel Goins Peel, and Lucille Lucas Williams. Then, in a few weeks, came Jessie Greer Pettiford, followed by the Belt twins, Lena and Anna. Soon, Rose Ashby came back to town and joined. Before long, new life was put in the club by the coming to town of Georgie Peck Lucas with her piano playing. She brought in the names of the Wright sisters, Grace Goatley and Helen Washington. Along came the quiet little Dorothy Goatley Armstrong. After a while, Roberta Braden came to town, and she joined the gang. Then, a few years later, Althea Beatrice Smith came to make Muncie her home. As soon as there was an opening, she joined. Another newcomer to town was Alice Evans, and as soon as there was an opening, she joined. Then came the new bride to town, Louise Parrott. And the last was a person who came backwards and forwards from Detroit for many years. So it was only natural when Mary Myers came to stay, and she was accepted as one of us. So here we are, March 28, 1957. Clasped hands across the years, my friends, though time upon his way has touched our temples gray and taken hopes away. We've mingled smiles and tears, my friends. Clasped hands again. So true, my friend. Life gives and takes away. October is not May, and my heart can say, life's good while I have you, my friends. And so that was the history of the club.
That's good.
In 1957.
Yeah, it's interesting to have that. If we can get it from all groups, you know, something like that. Be really helpful. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about, Miss Williams?
Well, I can't think now because
yeah.
I wasn't even thinking, but I'll be looking through some things. I have a big barrel upstairs that I put a lot of put a lot of things in, and I'll look through that to see if there are some things that would help you, because I think the people have tried to. Oh, here's something again. Now this is called the Afro-American World Almanac, and it is written by Ross Brown, and he's a Muncie man.
Oh.
Did you know him?
No, I didn't.
And Ross Brown was he was an outstanding person, and he wrote that World Almanac after he left here and went to Chicago and wrote this one. Almanac, but he was really an outstanding person when he was here, and he helped the community so much.
Yeah, I know. What year this was from?
Yes, if you'd like to read that, you could, because there are many things in that it's condensed.
Yeah,
that's condensed. That would help you, and then you could bring it back sometime.
All right, I'll see what you get back. I'll call you in about a week. I'll give you a week, and then I won't run in on you unannounced next time. I'll at least
I'll try to find it.
Call you and.
But I had this old box stuck up in between something upstairs that I had just running and stuck things in. While I worked, and I haven't, since I've been home, I haven't gone through things. Oh, not too well.
Yes. Well, thanks again, Miss Williams. Like I said, just barged in on you, took up your whole afternoon.
Oh, that's all right. I'm kind of lazy now.